like that, yeah. I like that, yeah.
American Bully, that's the dream. From XL booties to extreme. Pocket standing, not left behind. Bully breathing is a grinder, we don't mind. Pick it up shit, face don't posting. Put in the time, we get left behind. Stand on your 2 feet, no join the crowd. Stay grinding with 10 toes down. Some get big handy when they win at a show. Some act like Joe, plus some hype for dough. Real breeders are humble, you know. Cause they know just cause you won the class don't mean you won the show.
Monday Bully Live. You know we do this every Monday, 8 p. CST. Today we're going to be talking about raw and why do we feed raw food and how do we transition to it and everything else in between. We're going to be talking about breeder evolution, right? Because no breeder is the same a year, 2, 3, 5 down the line. We're going to be talking about that. That evolution, I have definitely not been able to escape it, and therefore, we're going to be talking about it. Either way, I'm bringing my dude, Michael Higginson. Money Mike, what is going on, bro?
Money Mike, man. Truck driving, baby.
Hey, you making that money today?
Yeah, I'm trying to get it in, man. Trying to get it in a little bit.
All right, man. I like it, bro. I like it. I think it gives a little spice to the live, bro.
Right. Y'all just had to forgive me in my transition, man, when I get from here to the house. I've been turned out to be a late day, but I'm excited about the topic.
Well, no, man, it's all good, bro. In fact, hopefully the conversation makes your time go by a little quicker. We got saying, what's up, everybody? No, he can't turn his phone. If he does, we can't see his head, Kyle. That's why. Felipe Hernandez says, Felipe Hernandez Rondon, what's up, Raul? Number love, baby. Pinnacle Bully Kennels, good evening from North Carolina. We got NC in the house. Frady Strivia, like always, Miss Fradia. Appreciate you being on the live. We got Stay Fresh Bullies. Evening, Bully fam. I love the name, Staying Fresh.
I love it.
Yo, listen. You know, the evolution of a breeder, the reason that you evolve is because you're either finding more efficient ways to do things or better ways to do things, or you're getting better results when you try things, right? Evolution of a breeder. I can tell you, man, when I first started breeding, Mike, everybody was all up on Victor and Dine. Oh, it's Victor and Dine. You throw a little Dine on there and you give the dog Victor and this, that. And then, you know, you start taking a look at everybody's front feet and, you know, the dog's front, and they're all East, Westy, all sloppy. The pasterns are either down or on their way getting down, which is unfortunate for the dog. What's going on, Adam Fields? Number love. And you start asking yourself after a while, there's got to be a better way. I can tell you everything hit me. I mean, I started breeding 2016. Everything hit me about a year to about a year and a half into breeding, whenever the summertime came after the dogs were about a year old. And I started noticing either bald spots or small little spots in their body where you could tell the fur was missing. And I didn't know what the heck was going on. In fact, I had a dog that was showing up having ringworms, right? For those of you that don't know about ringworm is really not a worm. It's more of a fungus, but it was growing on the dog. And I had no idea. V Ferreira, hit that like button as you enter. Nothing but love, man. Appreciate you. Long story short, man, I started figuring out real quick when I started, you know, Googling things up, and I started realizing that, you know, dogs actually, you know, would have allergies for a lot of the same reasons humans would. And it had a lot to do with the diet that they were taking in. In fact, that's where I started figuring out that higher protein actually makes the soft tissue like tendons, cartilage, joints, that sort of thing, and ligaments weaker, right? In larger breeds to medium-sized breeds. And I started evolving. At the time, I had a mentor. What's up, Christopher Holiday? Number love, Bully fam. I had a mentor who I spoke with, and I said, bro, like, you know, is it true that if you feed too much protein, you get, you know, you could get down pastures or whatever because soft tissues actually become, you know, weaker? And he said yes, but he didn't know the twos to the why. He just says he had said he noticed it, right? So what ended up happening was I started evolving like a breeder. As a breeder, I take it back. And I decided, okay, we had this one litter, and I kept a male and a female. And I said, I'm going to feed this one male 305, right? Lower protein and higher carbohydrates. And his sister, Athena, we're going to go ahead and feed higher protein and less carbohydrates. What do you know, man? All of a sudden, dogs' pasterns are stronger. They're cleaner. Dogs looking sharp. And the female's giving me all this wonkiness. That's when you start figuring things out. Because breeding is about evolving and getting better. It's not about jumping in, man, and just making a quick buck. Because a lot of times this is what happens. And I don't want to seem here like I'm waving the finger and at anybody that's trying to make a better living for their family. I know we all are, right? I get that. But here's the deal. You will have unethical and immoral breeders out here that are going to sell you a dream. They're going to sell you a $10,000 pup and make it seem like because you bought a $10,000 pup that you're going to be able to turn around and sell $10,000 puppies. It doesn't work that way.
Well, they'll tell you that, and they'll also tell you that, you know, they got a 10 pup litter and they're all show quality.
Right. Well, they're going to tell you they're all show quality, and they're going to sell you the last pick of the litter at $10,000, right?
Right.
Sell you the dream that you're going to be able to sell these pups at 10 grand. And of course, which is one of the reasons why we are a minority on this platform. And the reason we are a minority is because we say the things that need to be said and not necessarily the things that you want to hear, right? A lot of you are you don't know it yet, but a lot of you have been sold this dream, and you don't want anybody to detach you away from that dream. And so when you hear somebody like myself speak to you and tell you, hey, bro, for every 1,000 followers, you may have one buyer. So you might want to have 2,000 followers per puppy so that you can improve the odds of being able to selling out the litter. That's just the facts, guys. I'm not making it up. If you don't believe me, go ahead and follow your dream and go ahead and drop that litter and go ahead and find yourself in a difficult situation trying to sell pups.
I'm trying to stay out. I'm trying to stay out of the river in Egypt, man. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Stay out of the river in Egypt. If somebody if it sounds too good to be true, if somebody's selling you a $10,000 pup and they're telling you that you're going to be able to do the same thing, doesn't that sound too good to be true? I'm just saying, man. Flaming 8 says, Raul, keep up the good work. I learned a lot from you. FAB questions, I guess. Number love, Flaming 8. Appreciate you, man. Delvin Booger. Hello, everybody. How's it going? You got it, man. Gerardo Betancourt. What is the right amount of protein you should give your dog daily? Let's talk about that. Conway, Edgy,
let's get into
listen, love, man. But if you want to become a member and get this by your name, you need to go down to descriptions below for as little as $5 a month. This could become a two-way conversation. Either way, question is, how much protein should you be giving your dog daily? Now, let me say this. My recommendation is if you're feeding puppies and you have large breed to possibly medium-sized breed that are extreme, just hear me out. If you have extreme dogs, to XL, American Bullies, my recommendation is keep the protein between 13 and 15%. I'm talking about as a pup, under a year. Keep it between 13 and 15%.
You know, this is why I love what we do so much, because if you just take the bait and go with the flow and with the herd of traffic, you'll never know, because every puppy food on the market's in the 30s, 25 to 35. You know what I mean? And it's
right.
If you're like, man, I want to take care of my puppy, so I'm going to Tractor Supply and I'm buying the most expensive puppy food there is, high protein. Yeah, it needs protein, right? And then and you're doing more damage than good and don't even know it.
And don't even know it, bro. And here's the thing. Let me just bring this up real quick. Or Deshaun, and I'm bringing it up because I think he's bringing up a fabulous point. He said, it's just like a friend of mine down here and his son thought they were going to be breeding sensations. And when it's been $35,000 on dogs, he's been that much. I guess he spent that much. His son has spent 20 grand. First year, he didn't make a dime. He had 2 litters and barely made 6 grand between both of them. And now he's selling dogs like they're going out of style because it's costing him money to feed all these dogs. He went from no dogs to 10 dogs. This is, unfortunately, or Deshaun, I've seen this happen so many times, and it's really sad, bro, because at the end of the day, let me tell you who's going to pay for your friend's bad decisions. Those dogs. Sooner or later, your friend's going to start getting rid of dogs because it's a financial decision. It's costing him too much money to feed them. You see where I'm coming from? This is the main reason why we have the platform we have, and we give it to you real. So you don't end up making not just this mistake, but you don't, put dogs in a very bad situation, man. So I'm glad you shared that with us. I
don't think people think about it enough, but I've learned in my experience with been around dogs all my life. And sometimes dogs got to come and go in a program. That's just part of it. But when you get in a situation like that, it's really confusing to the dog. It really is, because the dog is wondering what it did wrong, because it thinks, when it thinks it's done something wrong, and this is what happens to breeders too. They get so far in so early, and they got 20, 30, 40, 50 grand in, and they got no wiggle room. They got nothing to do. And like you said, the dogs take the brunt of it.
Yep. Here's the thing, man. Mike. I don't think the dogs get confused. The beauty about dogs is when they get moved from one environment to another,
they're happy as long as somebody loves them.
Yeah, they're going to adapt to it. Where the problem lies is this. Breeders will never say the effed up things they did when nobody was looking, because that's not what they're going to post on Facebook or Instagram. Any breeder, lottie-dottie, especially the bigger name breeders, I'm telling you right now, guys, they are pretty, they can do some pretty dirty things and act like like nothing ever happened. Like they're able to hide it. And it's just unfortunate for the dogs. Now, as far as the protein that you should be giving an adult dog, and I'm trying to answer Gerardo Benincourt. Like I said, pups 13 to 15% if they're extreme or XL. Why is that? Their bone is going to grow a lot faster than their ligaments, than their tendons, than their cartilage. And so I've already explained that the higher percentage of protein will actually not only weaken, not only will it weaken the ligaments and cartilage at the end of the bone, right? But there's 2 things that triggers the growth of a pup. Now, hear me out. If you have a large breed dog, the last thing you want to do is accelerate that dog's growth. And this is why. First of all, that dog is not going to grow any more than his DNA. It's going to allow that dog to grow in the first place. I don't care what you're feeding it or how fast it grows. The only thing you can do, and a lot of you do it, is you make the bone grow a lot faster. And then at the end of the bones, or even attached to the bones, okay, attached to the bone, you're going to have tendons that actually attach muscle to bone. You're going to have ligaments at the end of the bones that are going to connect the bone to other bones, along with cartilage and also joints that are going to help the stabilize the bone when it's in movement. What ends up happening is when you're feeding too much protein, you weaken all of those things that are supporting this bone. Then when the dog stands, right, and it doesn't have the support that it needs in its pasterns, all of a sudden those feet turn outward because that dog is trying to stabilize his body when it stands. Therefore, you may be causing a nutritional east-west. That's what I refer to. And that's nothing more when a dog has inadequate, it's being fed inadequately. Feeding too much protein to a dog is inadequate. Feeding more calories than the dog needs is inadequate. Feeding less of either what it needs or its nutritional, its caloric intake for the day, that's also inadequate. Go ahead, Mike.
What I was going to say also, we've showed x-rays and stuff on here before, and I've been so surprised to know how few people know what an actual puppy joint looks like. There is no joint. It looks like the bones are all thrown in a sack of skin together, like they're not even attached to each other. They're very far apart, and there is no joint established. So if you think about it on those terms, if you've got weak soft tissue stuff, you got weak ligaments and tendons and things like that, and the joints are not even established, well, it's even more of a danger zone in those areas, because the only thing holding the dog in its shape from falling apart like a sack of meat is the soft tissue. And you start doing damage to that stuff really young, even more dangerous to the dog's structure.
Yes, it leads to nutritional imbalances, right? It could also contribute to weight gain, which is not going to help anything as far as your soft tissue is concerned. And it can start even causing digestive issues. You have no idea how many people I get on a weekly basis hitting me up. Hey, I need to get that Nuvet NuJoint. Show me a picture of your dog. And then I see the dog, and the dog looks like Mr. Potato with like stick figure legs, real skinny little legs. And what's happened is they've been overfeeding the dog with, feed protein. Listen, when you feed protein, not only when you're overfeeding protein, not only can it affect your dog's soft tissue, it affects your dog's kidneys. It puts strains in the dog's kidney. And I understand dogs are mainly carnivores. I get that. But you got to realize that more than 70% of the meat that they're eating is nothing more than water. And when you go to a bag of kibble, right, you're going to find just about everything under the sun except water. They've taken all the water, all the moisture out so that bag of kibble could have shelf life, right? Let me see here. Inserata says, when I gave my pup super supplement and mush, my keeper's legs started to bow. I followed Raul's advice, cut back protein and added potatoes and sweet potatoes and sunlight, and she's starting to straighten out quickly. Absolutely. I need help with this topic. Anthony Smith, go ahead and become a member. Let's make this a two-way conversation. I need the link to buy some of those products from you, nutritional products and recipe, if you can, for home-cooked or homemade dog food, but I need some of them vitamins that you got. Okay, so I could only imagine you're talking about this right here. And that, well, let me bring it up front. I clicked on the wrong button, guys. My bad. So you're talking about Nuvet NuJoint DS, the green bottle, right? You're not going to see green here because I got a green screen behind me, but the green bottle is a multivitamin, is Nuvet Plus, and the blue bottle is NuJoint DS, which is joint support, right? If you order both of them together on auto ship, you're going to get 13% off your shipping, or better yet, 13% off the price. In addition, you're also going to be entered into our yearly raffle. If you happen to win, I'm going to go ahead and cover all of the dogs that you have in your yard with Nuvet and NuJoint DS. So there you have it. You asked for it. I'm sending it to you, man. Nothing but love. Appreciate you asking that question. Now, let me move on here to the next comment. We got Malachi as a new member. Kyle, can we give Malachi some love, man?
Pues claro que sí, cabrón.
Claro que sí, cabrón. We do this every Monday at 8 p. CST. And, well, you already know, Malachi. I ain't got to tell you, man. You're always here with us and commenting. And, you know, you've probably just either upgraded or re-upped. It doesn't matter, man. Nothing but love. Appreciate the support that you're giving us, man. So, hold on a second. I'm trying to send the link out here and speak at the same time. So my apologies if you see me doing something. All right. So let me jump on here and let me see. Malachi says, Raul, do you still feed once a day for my adults? And if so, what snacks do you feed to keep them in an anabolic state throughout the day? And I believe somebody jumped on there. Kyle did. He said cottage cheese as a snack. This is correct. Cottage cheese is going to keep the dog from going into anabolic state. It's probably going to buy you an extra 8 to 10 hours. Okay, an extra 8 to 10 hours. Or when you feed,
how much do you recommend?
No, just a spoonful to 2 spoonfuls when they go to sleep at night. You don't want to over proteinate a dog. Okay. Kyle is right. He's saying casein protein will hold them over a longer period of time. Absolutely. Because it's longer for it to process in the dog's body. Detailer, you're floating those gears, Mike. Drive safe. Detailer, somebody looking at you driving, man. Anthony Smith. So I seen a video where a guy was walking his dog in sand at the beach, and he said it would help the east-west. Okay. So what I'm going to say, Anthony, is this. A lot of times people have a tendency to follow 4 or 5 different people in order to either get their best information or catch them lying or whatever. My recommendation to you, Anthony Smith, is if you're watching somebody walking a dog on the beach and it's correct in the east-west, or you think it is, then that's what you need to do. Don't come jump on here. As much as I would love for you to have, Nuvet and NuJoint DS, don't just jump on here and take my Nuvet and NuJoint DS, turn around and do whatever he does on the sand, and then do whatever somebody else does, because I'm going to tell you what happens. If his sand interpretation doesn't work, you're then going to turn around and say Nuvet and NuJoint DS didn't work. You see what I'm saying? And it doesn't necessarily work that way. My recommendation is whoever you're going to listen to, go ahead and listen to them. Follow what they got to say. Give them a chance. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, then turn the channel. But don't just take.
I've got a bad little spot right here. We might be all right, might not. I might have to jump back on. But I was gonna say that's part of evolving as a program. You gotta try things, but give everything its own chance and its own season, so that you can kind of cross things off the list and acquire, a plan and a course of action that you feel comfortable with, that works for you.
Yeah, absolutely, bro. Unfortunately, bro, we're in a day and age where people are bombarded with information, and it's if it's not, we lost him there. If the person that's giving you information, if you feel it's good, Anthony, I get it. You were waiting to ask me these questions, but I needed to get the vibe. Okay, I got you, man. Nothing but love. I'm not trying to pick on you. I'm just saying I am aware that people are watching other channels and trying to do what they got to say, and then trying to pick and choose what you know, what I'm doing here, what they're doing there, what somebody else is doing there, my recommendation is if you feel the other person gives you a good shot at cleaning it up, you need to give whatever they're saying a shot for a good 2 or 3 months. If that doesn't work, then that's when you turn the channel and you either come here or you go to another channel. But don't be floating around trying to pick what you want to hear from who, because at the end of the day, it might just not work out for you. All right? That's all I'm saying. Oh, thank you, Lil Lee. Number love, man. Appreciate you, man. D. Taylor says, take the proper steps, food, nutrition, and vitamins. But don't blame Nuvet if your dog's nails are overgrown. It could be that simple. Yeah, it could be that simple. A lot of times it's a lack of Mike is back. Sometimes is a lack of education. Sometimes people make the mistake and they'll listen to Raul at QBN. They'll listen as such and such. They'll listen as some other, and then pick and choose what sounds best from them from the three. Bottom line is, if you're listening to me and if you're listening to others as well, more likely than not, you're not an expert at what you're doing. And therefore, you know, if you're going to pick and choose what that doctor says and what that doctor says and what I say that sounds great to you, you know, you might end up poisoning yourself. You know, I'm just saying. This is why I say you got to give each one an opportunity. And then, you know, then you could either speak on what they were saying, whether it worked or it didn't, but you got to give them a chance. Anthony, you're the only person I follow, and I just got on here because I seen an ad about Nuvet with you speaking. My first time was last week. I don't do this. I don't love my dogs. I'm sure you do. For some reason, you probably typed it wrong. I don't just be trying stuff on them, and I just got my bully, and I'm trying to correct or help them out with the East-West. Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I feel that, you know, I've spoken on Nuvet NuJoint DS. They're cold pressed. They're at human food grade level. A lot of times dogs are undernourished, and sometimes people point a finger at a dog that's obese because he's taking in more calories, and that doesn't mean that they're well nourished. It still means that they're undernourished. In fact, they may not be getting certain vitamins correctly, right? Depending what's being fed. G-Line says, what up, number love, man? We got Gerardo. My pocket is 6 months old at 33 pounds. She is showing low pasterns and East-West. I just switched to raw. Okay, Gerardo, if you just switched to raw, do me a favor. Do not feed your pup beef liver or chicken liver. It's just my recommendation. And I'm not even talking about allergies. I'm talking about there may be something in those hormones that may be triggering the growth hormone, right? Which makes the dog grow faster than what it needs to. Right now, you need to slow down the growth. So my recommendation would be I would start them on raw. If you haven't watched my fixed feet video, I suggest you check it out. You might want to feed them pumpkin. I don't know if it's in season right now. If it isn't, sweet potato will work, cooked, of course, and lower the protein content. In addition, I would recommend Nuvet NuJoint DS. You know, your dog is going to need a multivitamin if you're going to be feeding them raw, specifically if you're not going to be feeding them beef or chicken livers. Malachi,
so before you go into Malachi, you can, you know, anybody can go on a laptop and go to the QBN app and look up the videos on raw. There's a bunch of them there.
Oh yeah.
Maybe you can show them how to do it so that any new viewers that don't know will know how to do it. But also, would you mind telling those of us that haven't seen the videos how you put together a ratio for a barf diet? You know, a percentage of protein versus the weight versus calorie intake, and how to balance that out based on the weight of your dog.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let me jump on that right now. Right now, I'm trying to bring up my channel so I can show you guys exactly what I'm talking about. So what Mike is talking about is, let me bring it up for you guys to see. What he's talking about is you go to our QBN channel, right here. Look at this. You go into our QBN channel. This is our live right now. Look, you see? There I'm talking, there's Mike, right? But my whole point is you click on our logo. This takes you to our homepage. Then you come down to search. In fact, I found out you can do this without having to be on a laptop. You can do it from your phone. Just go to our homepage. You might have to scroll where it says home, shorts, live, podcast. You might have to scroll and you find this little magnifying glass. When you get there, you could type fixed feet. All right. And check it out, man. You're going to get all the videos we have showing you about fixing feet. What I'm talking about, the fixed feet diet.
You can type in barf diet too.
Yeah, you can do barf diet too. But when I say fixed feet, right? Fixed feet diet. This one in particular is the one I'm talking about. It's called Discovering the Fascinating World of American Bully XL Pit Bull at this point. Now, guys, don't kill me for this. Obviously, I have programs that are constantly changing the names of my videos in order for them, you know, to attract more people. That's why I tell you, come on here and type in fixed feet. If you want to know barf diet, right? Literally, you can type in the barf diet, and it's going to explain to you the same ratios I'm going to be talking to you about tonight as to how much beef or chicken to, you know, vegetable to possibly fruit and that sort of thing. Definitely, if you go to our homepage, that's going to be a resource for you to get a quick answer every single time for whatever it is that you're looking for. So as far as barf diet,
calculations,
the barf diet ratios for me, they're actually is very simple. As far as, you know, following the percentages. Excuse me, my dogs are barking right now. As far as following the percentages, the way it works is you feed 70% muscle meat, 10% edible bones, raw edible bones. Never feed your dog cooked bones. Then it's 10% organ meats, and then you know you could feed a combination of 10% fruits or vegetables or even dairy. Now that 5%. Where it's supposed to be, 10% organ meats, I take it back. My recommendation is it's okay, for example, to feed beef kidney, for example. But as far as the liver is concerned, which is the filtering system, you know, for all animals, I would highly discourage you from actually going ahead and doing that, for the simple reason that there are growth hormones within there that could actually affect the dog and make them grow faster than they have to, right? So it's really that simple. Let me go ahead and
the Nuvet has whatever. When people feed dog livers, what they're trying to get out of that organ, you can get in Nuvet. So the Nuvet is a good liver replacement, right?
Well, essentially, that's how I'm using it, man. And, you know, somebody might be out here thinking, oh, well, you're trying to sell me Nuvet. Look, I don't blame you, bro. Nowadays, we live in a world where somebody's trying to sell something to everybody. But bottom line is, in all honesty, do your research. Look at the amount of hormones that and growth, not just hormones, but growth hormones that your dog's going to be getting through the beef and chicken that they're eating. Do you really want to feed that to your dog? Not only will it make your dog grow faster, it will also, these growth hormones, if you're feeding it to your dogs for a long period of time, what may end up happening is they can start developing cancers. Don't take my word for it. Please do your research and challenge me on what I just said. It could actually cause your dogs to have cancer if you're feeding this long term. So my recommendation would definitely be not to go that route. We got VBX Bully saying, just got home from work. I just want to say, number love, man. Anthony Smith, that's right. I was saying I do love my dogs. That's a typo. No, you're good, man. Plus, they kept them in the cage. up until he was 18 months, at least 10 hours a day. Yeah, that's why I say, man, don't come out here breeding thinking that this is an easy get-rich scheme. You're about to find out. D. Taylor says 22 million views. Great job, guys. The impact is undeniable. She's referring to QBN. We're at 22 million views for long-form videos. We definitely couldn't have done it without you, man. Yeah, Gerard Betancourt says, I'm feeding her two. Go ahead, man. No,
I'm sorry. There's a little lag between us. I would just say, man, that's something that I'm proud to be a part of, man. You know, it's something I hold my head up about, to be involved in the education of so many people. You know, that's a lot of views, man. That's a lot of people trying to learn about their breed and learn how to take care of these dogs. And as the minority in our community, that's impressive to me, man.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you what, you'll be surprised, Mike. We're a very big minority in the breeding community with the American Bully community. You'll be surprised how many Rottweiler breeders and Doberman breeders and breeders from other breeds are actually coming in and, you know, sharing information, liking and sharing our videos.
Yeah, Cane Corso breed. I've seen some of them too.
Yeah. Gerard Betancourt says, I'm feeding her 2 chicken drumsticks with carrots, green beans, and apple and sauerkraut and oatmeal with NuJoint. Is that too much for her? And as for the sweet potato, do I add that to her meal? Well, if you're going to be feeding sweet potato, I would get rid of possibly the carrots. I would probably go sweet potato and apple. Okay. Apple is one of the best fruits, if not the best fruits to feed a dog. It's got fiber. 50% of it is water. 25% of it is air. It's low on the glycemic index. So that's really, really, apple is a really good choice. Just make sure it's not one of them, sour apples or something like that. Your dog may not want to eat it. You're feeding her 2 chicken drumsticks. I believe you said she was 33 pounds. So you're going to have to watch our barf diet video, because I typically recommend to feed between 3 and 5% of the dog's body weight on a daily. You might have to go 3% if you're noticing that her pasterns are down. That's just a heads up. What's up, Kahiki Sakata?
I would recommend as well, just to my own experience in that, you know, it is 3 to 5%, but I would recommend starting at 3 and go for a couple weeks and really watch the weight of your dog, and keep an eye on things. If you have trouble noticing, maybe take pictures, try to write it down, try to remember, because you can tell in a week or two if you're headed in the right direction or not. And I had the very first time had started at like 4%, and it was too much. So I would recommend starting at the bottom of that range and
work your way up. Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely. What you got, Kyle?
Hey, I was going to say something on that too, but let's not forget, when you're switching from kibble to raw, you're going to notice a big weight difference with loss of weight, because they're not eating that processed crap no more, and they're going to trim up automatically. So you're going to have to get through that period first to really see what you're doing.
Yeah, you're also going to notice 2 things. When you start feeding raw, because the majority of the raw is water, your dog's going to be peeing a lot more and is going to be pooping a lot less. Also, I had somebody write to me frantically last week talking about, my dog is pooping white after I fed it some chicken quarters. I'm like, yeah, that's the bone. Your dog processed the calcium in the bone. That's what it is. Don't worry.
I'll tell you the biggest thing that I seen that was kind of caught me by surprise, even though it made perfect sense, that I just learned in my experience with it. Your dog is going to poop about the size of a cat poop once a day, maybe, probably not twice. And you're going to think, golly, my dog's not hardly pooping at all, and it ate this big old bowl of raw. And so there's that. And then the other thing that I didn't expect, man, you'd have to wear your dogs out on the flirt pole just to get them to drink water. Like my dogs literally like will take a lick or two and they're done. Like they don't hardly drink a lot of water when they're on a raw diet because
they're taking in so much water. Yeah. That's the reason they're not needing so much water is because they're taking in so much water in the food.
And
yeah, honestly,
sorry.
I was gonna
Mike,
say if you
give
don't
me a
feel
thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up once you're prepared, man.
if you don't feel if you don't feel safe giving your dog the whole chicken leg quarter as a whole, you can always buy a grinder and grind it up, man. It's another way to get the bone. If you're not comfortable with it, I highly recommend grinding it up.
Or get yourself a hammer and beat the living crap out of it.
Yeah. Beat it.
You know what I'm saying? But make sure the dog has a second set of teeth in and they're able to break bone with their own jaw. Right?
Most definitely.
Just go ahead and feed that. Now, Lil Lee is saying, what should I look for in a reputable American Bully breeder? Now, Kyle answered that with transparency videos, not just photos. Look right here for what we're doing here and showing it all or nothing. I totally agree. I think you need to understand, Lil Lee, that there's a difference between a popular breeder and a true somebody that actually stands on ethics. Don't get them twisted. It's not the same mentality. A popular breeder has enough popularity to be able to sell its pups. And if you start noticing things like, okay, there's no genetic testing, okay, there's not a health test through a vet, okay, there's no, no types of guarantees whatsoever, okay, then maybe you're not really standing behind your dogs. You're just pretty popular because, I don't know, man, for some crazy reason nowadays, if you're able to fake the funk, you could become popular enough to where you can sell dogs. You got people making a line from here to the next state trying to get pups from you, which, I'm not hating on anybody for being popular. What I'm hating is the market or the buyer being such a sheep and being so gullible that, you're going to walk into a situation where somebody's going to take advantage of you because they're popular. I mean, you know what I'm saying? You got to use a little bit of your common sense. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. VBX is saying, oh, Lord. Yeah. Popularity does not make a breeder. What it makes is a breeder popular. It doesn't make a breeder a breeder. It doesn't make the fact that if the breeder from a scale to 1 to 10 has a category of 5 or 6 dogs, it doesn't make the dogs any better. It just makes them popular, right? For me, a reputable breeder, first of all, is a breeder that's going to tell you right off the bat, once you buy from me, my dog should come back to me at any time. So you would write into the contract something like, if you're going to get rid of the dog for whatever reason, I have right of first refusal, meaning the dog needs to come back to me. If I sold you the dog and you were single and then all of a sudden now you're married and your wife doesn't want the dog because now she has leverage over you and she's trying to get rid of the dog. I'm not saying that always happens. I'm just throwing it out there. Then you would have to come back to me. The dog would have to come back to me before you're going to go ahead and put it in a shelter or anything like that. These are little green flags that are letting you know this person is truly looking after the welfare of the dogs. If the person makes you feel like this is a cash transaction, better yet, like this is a drug deal type of deal, you're going to pay them and then they're going to disappear and ghost you and not answer any questions you got, and whatever you got is what you got, then more likely than not, you're not dealing with a real breeder, man. You're just dealing with somebody that just is popular enough to be able to use leverage to take advantage of you. That's just a fact, man. Cesar Gutierrez is asking, is the stack off over? No. We were supposed to have a stack off today, guys, but I'll be upfront. I had to make a quick trip out of town, and the fact is we did not advertise it enough. So we're going to advertise it this week, and if we see enough interest, we're going to go ahead and run it next Monday. So I'm glad you brought it up. Bambo Jenkins, Lakeside Bully Sharks tapping in. What good, Raul? What good, Raul? Number one, man, appreciate you. Thanks for tapping in, man. Queen's New Blood, what are some red flags when looking at studs? Oh, those are easy. Those are easy. Let me make sure my boy's not in high grass. Okay, so look, let me show you. I didn't mean for him to have grass that high, okay? But you just got to realize he's a pocket too. But if you see grass going up to like halfway of the dog's leg, yeah, that's a red flag. If you never see the dog standing, yeah, that's a red flag. If you never see a video of the dog, yeah, that's a red flag. Let me think here. If you are not able to find people that have used that stud before, that's a red flag. So let me give you an example. This boy right here, his name is Blueberry. He's not even a year old. He's my boy. I bought him. I did not produce him. Okay, right? So right then and there, right? This breeder right here is letting you know we're going to be doing things completely transparent. In this community, the way it normally works is, this is my boy Blueberry and I produced him, even though I didn't. And what they do is they try to steal the clout from the person that actually produced the dog. You see where I'm coming from, right? In addition, you won't find people that actually were studded by this pup. Why is it that you wouldn't find people that are actually studded by this pup? Because that breeder has done such bad business that those people that actually were studded from his stud, his or her stud, he has blocked them so that they don't ruin his little scam that he's got going on. Right? You're asking for red flags, so I'm giving you red flags. Another major red flag is if all of a sudden you start noticing in groups there's a conversation about a stud and his sperm count is low. Let me explain to you something they do in this community, because some of y'all don't even have the remotest idea. What'll happen is the dog died 3 months ago, right? They'll keep advertising it like the dog is alive because they got frozen straws. So let me educate you a little bit. What happens with frozen semen is that the motility and also not the sperm count, but the sperm motility is cut in half once that sperm is thawed. So if, say, you paid for a stud and they shipped you the sperm, right? And all of a sudden, your vet's saying the sperm count is great. It's the motility we're having a problem with. It's below 50%. And supposedly the dog got collected yesterday. What they're doing is they're going to run a scam on that dog until all their frozen straws are done, right? The community doesn't want to speak on it because either they're too afraid, right? Because they feel, oh, this breeder is either too popular or whatever, people won't believe me, or they simply just don't know, okay? I've had vets say in a situation like that happened to me way when I started breeding, had the vet say, hey, man, you're going to have to get that stud checked out. I'm like, get the stud checked out. Hold on, bro. If the dog was supposedly collected yesterday and it was shipped and it was brought here today and we have less than 50% motility, does it not seem odd to you that this could have been frozen sperm? Oh, yeah, it could have been. But a lot of times the vets, they're not there for you, the breeder. They're there for them, the vet, to get paid, regardless what's happening with that sperm, regardless. Their mindset is, oh, we're charging you for this TCI or for this surgical insemination, whatever the number is, and then I got to get home for dinner and I got to get out of here. Giving you adequate information is not a priority, right? So that's just a fact. What's up, Mike?
I'm back, man.
Hey, listen, I got to push you back real quick, man, because we're going to go into our episodes, bro. So I'm going to bring Jafon on first, and I'm going to be following it up with you this time around. Remember last time it was you first and then Jafon?
Okay.
Today we're going to go ahead and flip it. Make sure to have your questions ready, and we're going to dive in. All right, bro?
All right, man.
You got it. All right, man. So listen up. Listen up. Real quick, let me go through some of these other comments. Queen's New Blood, I'm locking in a couple of studs and don't want to walk into issues. Yeah. Another piece of advice for you, Queen's New Blood, tell the stud owner if you could put hands on. Even if he's 2 states away, make the drive and put hands on the stud. Just trust me on that. Sorry, they're late. You're good, man. Life of Miklo, we plan on switching off of Inukshuk to barf within this month, just educating ourselves so we can start buying and storing our protein for 22 days, like Raul said. Exactly. You want, whenever you get raw, you want to throw it in the freezer for 22 days. And this way, the eggs and the adults are killed. Okay, you're reducing the chances of having a parasitic outbreak. Adam Fields, when looking for studs, there's nothing like putting hands on the dog in person. Exactly. Queen's New Blood, thank you, Adam. I've been wanting to do that for the dogs I see and like. Bingo. Cody Boone, I'll be there for the stack off next week. You got it, man. Hugo Rosado, word. Number love, bro. Cody Boone, my boy wants a go at it. You got it, bro. But listen, nonetheless, Kyle, have the music ready, man. Have it ready because we're coming up on Jafon's journey. Raise it up, man. Raise it up. Let him hear it. There you go. There you go. There you go. Oh, Jafon. What is going on, my man? Brooklyn in the house. I can't hear you, bro. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. Now I can. Kyle. Lower it, bro. I can't hear him, bro. You're playing it too loud. I'm messing with Kyle today, man. What's up, Jafon?
How's it going, man? How you been?
Hey, man, it is what it is. I had to kind of leave town and run around. You know what I'm saying? And hey, we're back. We're back at it. What's up, man? What's good?
Man.
What questions you got, man?
Man, before I even get to starting any of these questions, the last time we was here, we did some how you want to say it? We put the XL Bully against some of the pit monsters. We see Sheik up here and stuff like that. So what I did was I went back to my social media and I put up a poll. So I said XL Bully or pit monster.
Okay.
The votes came close. A lot of people said they'll rather the XL Bully. Then people hopped in my DMs. Now this was the thing. Nobody denied that the pit monster looks better. The thing was,
it is what it is right now.
Yeah, they just want to make our dogs better. So I kind of seen like, okay, that's what everybody's saying. Like, hey, they got it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But we want our dogs to look better. We're gonna rock with our dogs until we figure it out. But
exactly. And let me just say this. Let me say shout out to you XL breeders that give the respect to the Brazilian bulls as to where they're at now. However, you're willing to do whatever it takes to take your XL dogs to the next level. That's where I'm at. A lot of people hit me up. Hey, man, you're going to be breeding Brazilian bulls? No, bro. We got a plan. We're going to go with our plan first. And, you know, that just is what it is. If you don't know what our plan is, I'm letting you guys know already that this boy right here, Hector BMBZ's Hector El Oso, he's coming in here, man. We're going to breed him to our females. I feel like this boy is the walking standard. I also feel like this boy is the one that could put any dog out there in a world of hurt just because of how symmetrical this dog is, right? But listen, Jafon, man, I'm here for your questions, bro. Let's have at it.
Let's get straight into it. So, real quick, what determines a dog value upon purchase?
Excellent question, bro. I think the dog's value, it's very personal and it's very subjective. I was just talking a minute ago that you could have a popular breeder, right? But that doesn't even mean that the dog that you're getting from that breeder is really worth the value that it's worth, right? Let me explain something to you. So a breeder's out here and he creates popularity for his or her program. The dogs he's going to sell are going to have value in the eyes of his market that is looking at him, right? He may have 500,000, 1 million followers, right? He has value in their eyes. You now bought one of the pups that he or she is selling, but you only have 5,000 followers, right? Does his value transfer over to you? We have seen over and over again that is not necessarily the case. Yeah. This is precisely why it is important to know what breed standard is and what people are looking for, so that you can buy something that doesn't lose its value. You have a dog that's looking like the dog on the screen, you just bought yourself a dog that's not going to lose value, right? You bought yourself a dog that looks like this from a very popular breeder. You're going to be in a world of hurt when it's time to sell pups. You see where I'm coming from?
Yes.
So that's where the value lies. Did you make a purchase that is valuable in everybody else's eye? Or did you just follow the hype and think that you're going to be able to push this across somebody's face? It's that simple.
Real quick, too, before I go to the next question, I also did a poll with that diagram, and I made people sending pictures of their dogs. People sent me their champion dogs, and I said, whoever comes closest to this diagram, I'll give you $50. And we did a whole bunch of dogs polls, and we had about 3 in the end. So I'll send those dogs over to you. Coming in later on tonight.
Well, my question to you, and I'm glad you did all this, man. I'm loving this, right? Yeah. So my question to you is, how many people sent in dogs altogether? Mm-hmm. And of that, what was the percentage of dogs, those 3, that actually were meeting standard?
So I would say about 25 to 30 dogs were sent in. Okay. And I would say the ones that really came real close, probably about 5. They were real spot on, but 3 of those was champion dogs. So they go to shows, they was champed out. And then there was 2 other ones that I really liked and they fit it. Like I couldn't be biased. It was just like, nah, these guys got it.
So you're looking at roughly 15%, somewhere around there. Okay. That of dogs that were actually within standard, correct? Yeah. Now my question to you, of those dogs that were within standard, how many of those breeders were very popular?
2.
So now the percentages are below 10%, correct?
It just gets worse and worse.
Yeah. So look, I'm just keeping it real. So how many breeders out here that are popular are actually trying to produce the right thing is where I'm trying to get at. And I'm just showing to the public how the number starts getting lower, lower, and lower as we go along. This is why I am so happy that the Brazilian Bull has come along, because now it forces everybody to raise their game. So it's just that simple. What else you got, bro?
Definitely. Next question. How to reset your program properly?
How to reset your program properly. That's an excellent question. I'm going to tell you this. I reset my program about a little over a year ago now. It's about a year and a month ago. And what I did was I did a market analysis, right? In addition, the reason I did a market analysis, let me rewind. The reason I did a market analysis was because the ABKC updated its breed standard. Now, it's not even this one. It's more updated than this one. Okay. But my point is this. When I started breeding, the look of the dogs that I initially bought, not only were they accepted within breed standard at the time, but there was a market for it. Okay. Now, when you fast forward it 9 years, there has been these different revisions over the breed standard. And at this point, I felt I was outside of what they were seeking, right? Now, look, and I always go to my boy Fireball, right? Fireball, look, clean, correct. It's not like we've been producing dogs that aren't clean and correct, right? My point is he's out of standard at this point. 10 years ago, Fireball would have been a grand champion. Right this minute, he may be out of standard. You see what I'm saying? Because there's been an evolution. So I realized that, and that's why I said, you know what? I need to go to a bullier dog. I need to start bringing in these traits. That's when I decided to bring in, my girl Sunshine. You know what I'm saying? I brought my girl. I went ahead and brought Sunshine's brother in. Ever since then, Sunshine, she champed out. She's one of the youngest champions in the ABKC at 6 months and 17 days. So my whole point is, I can't tell you exactly because that's my subjective, that's my experience. Yeah. But the only thing I could advise you is whatever's going to make you pivot, whatever's going to make you reset, make sure you have a plan. And I'm going to bring it back again to the previous comment or the previous question you had asked that I answered with the standard, the breed standard never goes out of style. Let me explain something to you. Fireball may not be a grand champion today as per ABKC standards. However, because he was as clean and as correct as you could find to the standard at the time he was, if you're trying to clean feet, do you think this is going to be a dog that's going to be able to clean the feet in your yard? You're damn skippy. He's the right dog to clean your feet, right? How many dogs do you see walking around that have as clean feet or as clean front as this boy does? You see, that will never go out of style. You see what I'm saying? It holds true value, even though there may be evolution within the breed.
Okay. Should dual registration be stopped? And before you answer, let me say this. Okay. I see a lot of the problems that came along with the bully breed or the XL bully breed being mixed up with bloods was kind of because of dual registration. Yes, people are going to do snake stuff and slimy stuff behind closed doors with the ABKC registration, but it seemed like a lot of the problems, and I love the UKC, came kind of from them because they was bringing the dogs over to the ABKC, and then everybody already started over there. You had the big people that brought in the Mastiffs and the Pit Bull mixes and all of this stuff.
It's a money grab.
Okay.
UKC recognized the American Bully as a pit bull in order to be able to get people to register through them. It's a money grab. And again, I'm not trying to take a shot at the UKC. I like the UKC myself.
Yeah.
As far as dual registrations or whatever the case may be, I don't think you're going to be able to stop that. Okay. Because if you have a dog that looks more like, for example, Fireball. Again, I'm going to bring up my dog so nobody feels like I'm picking on them. I think Fireball right this minute would go into a UKC ring and tear it up. However, he wouldn't tear it up in the ABKC because it's a different standard, right? So I feel that a lot of people, what they do is, oh, my dog doesn't grand champ here, then I'll grand champ him over there in order to, make him look more appealing to the market. That's really what's happening. Real quick, let me answer this question. Richard Martin, QBN Kennel, Raul, when are you going to breed a pit monster and get this really going on? Richard Martin, listen, and I've spoken to my friend Aria as well from Samba Kennels. Nothing but love for her if she's watching. I'm going to give this a shot, first and foremost, with my breed. Again, it doesn't change my position. I am really happy that the pit monster or the Brazilian bull has come in and raised the stakes. I feel it was necessary because the majority of American bully breeders are not breeding to standard. You don't see a lot of XLs running around looking like, say, the dog I'm showing on the screen. And so I want to give myself in my yard the opportunity to make a bigger and better version of this dog that you're looking at right now. Okay, that's what I'm going to shoot for. And knowing me, 10 years will probably go by before I decide, okay, it didn't work out, then maybe I got to pivot then. That's just how I am. So if you're expecting that from me, I'm letting you guys know right now. And I've told Aria, I would love nothing more to be able to have a dog that goes in the ring and is able to compete with the the best expression of the Brazilian bulls that you could throw at them, right? Because that would really be forwarding our breed. If I just dropped everything and ran towards the Brazilian bull, like seriously, am I just running to what's now, what's going on now, or was I ever truly into the American Bully XL, or am I just about the hype, right? So that's just how I think, and I'm not going to just drop everything and head in that direction. Can you show and register a Pit Monster American Bully Cross? I don't believe so. I believe the dogs that Aria and Samba Kennel has that were registered as American Bully, they're only going to be able to be bred to papered American Bullies. That's my understanding of it. Again, that may be something you might want to ask her. She might have more updated information than myself. Go ahead, Jafon. My bad, man. Didn't want to throw you off.
I'm here for it, and it's crazy because two of my people's locked in Chic. So
okay.
It's gonna be a long summer.
Let me tell you, man. I appreciate Chic, man. Chic is gonna make us all have to raise the bar, man. It's a good thing.
Should breedings be recorded?
Recorded how?
So with a lot of people faking DNA and get hanging papers and stuff like that, would this be a alternative to kind of like the breedings, then the dog giving birth? Would this, like, to keep it on record, like this is exactly what came out? Because somebody told me back in the days they used to send somebody out. I think this is in Europe or something. I'm not too sure. But they used to send somebody out to come watch the dogs be bred and check on them and stuff like that.
Man, look, I think that the fastest, most efficient way in doing that is going to be through a DNA test. And I think that the ABKC got it right. I think Dave Wilson got it right when he says people in our community don't want to be forced to do anything.
Yeah.
I think ever since he came out with the premium pedigree and all these bigger breeders that have grand champions and whatnot are showing now that their dogs have a premium pedigree. Remember, to have a premium pedigree, you got to have your dog's heart test, hip test. Then you got to have ABKC DNA, their DNA parentage test, right? When you do the DNA parentage test through the ABKC, what you're saying is, I am certifying that when I stud a dog, it's going to be through my dog's DNA. Because if I was to buy a dog from somebody that has the DNA parentage, and on the contract it says that the dog that they're using is going to be that one, but they didn't, I could always challenge the parentage my pup has through the ABKC. You really don't want to get that. You really don't want to go that route, because if you did and the ABKC finds out you were paper hanging, meaning you were using a different stud and claiming it was this one, you could get in a world of hurt. You might even be barred. I don't know. I don't know exactly what all the consequences are, but you really don't want to do that. Not to mention, it would spread like wildfire throughout multimedia, social media. So nobody will ever want to get anything from you. So I think rather than record it and all this good stuff, DNA parentage test.
Okay.
Once you get that on board, you have a legal means to challenge that breeder if you feel that he paper hung. That's what that means.
Okay. And my last two questions real quick. I'm going to make this one fast. If your dog is bitten by another dog, but they seem okay, what is the first thing you should do at home?
My dog got bit by another dog.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's okay. Probably the first thing I would do is antibiotics. I don't know what that other dog has. And then, I would probably go with antibiotics. That's probably the first thing. Probably a broad spectrum antibiotic like amoxicillin is what I would do.
Okay.
And, more likely than not, I'll probably be taking my dog to the vet, because I just don't know what that other dog has, where it's been.
Yeah.
I don't know. But yeah, my first step would probably be a broad spectrum antibiotic. It wouldn't hurt.
Okay. And last question for the night. for the people that already paid for a stud, they spent the 6,000-7,000. This is kind of correlating with the starting your program over, resetting.
Okay.
What would you tell them, right? You see they kind of fit the standard, but they're not fully there. Do they continue breeding, get the money worth for their dog so they can buy a proper dog, or do they just sell the dog and it's still floating around in the community?
Man, that's a hard question, bro. I would have to see where they're at. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Let me go back to Fireball. He's outside of breed standard at this point, right? Right? But he's a very clean dog. He's a dog that's going to clean things up. Also, I know that if I breed him to a bigger female, I can get something like this. Now, he was bred to a bigger female that was Mastiffy, and that's why you're seeing Mastiff traits in this dog. But the fact that that dog was compact and was clean and correct, I would probably take a shot with a bigger female that has bullier breed type, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But if your dogs are looking like this, I would probably say, bro, like, it's probably going to take you a good minimum 2 generations to really clean that up. Do you really want to go 4 years with a dog that's pretty much out of standard? Trying to correct a rear, because as you're trying to follow and correct that rear, you may end up getting East Westy up front. Then you have another flaw that you're going to have to clean up. You see what I'm saying? It really comes down to where the dog is at, bro, and how clean it is.
Okay.
In my opinion.
And one thing before I get up out of here, I noticed that a lot of people resetting their camps, these dogs are still floating around. So that doesn't really solve the problem, because other people are still breeding these dogs that you get rid of instead of you fixing the dog and stuff like that. So maybe we'll bring that up some other time.
Let me tell you something, man. It's a very valid point. I've been seeing people bringing up these older dogs, and they'll throw the name of the kennel they got the dog from because it's a big name kennel. What I'm starting to like, and again, it's not that I'm happy that people are paying for it. What I am liking is that the market is not falling for it. That's what I'm liking. The market's like, yeah, it may be XYZ, but that dog is out of standard. Yeah. If it's out of standard, prices need to be coming down.
Definitely.
It's that simple. That's how we can improve the breed. Because if the ones that have breed type and are clean and are actually doing health testing and showing their stuff through premium pedigree, if we could place them as the top of the food chain, then everybody else below is going to have to shoot for that in order to have a market. That's only going to improve our breed.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Stefan, what else you got, bro?
And one more thing, real quick. Book. Real quick, because I kind of closed the book. So, with a lot of dogs having, I guess you would say, Mastiff in them, right? The sloppier faces and things of that nature. How do you exactly breed that out? Because when you look at the pit monster, they use what did they use? They use a pit bull in the Johnson, and
the American Bulldog. Yeah,
that's okay. So what could somebody create now?
No, I believe they used the Scott. I believe the Scott American Bulldog is the thicker one. I forget if it's the Johnson or the Scott. I'm pretty sure it's the Scott. It's the thicker, more boned up American Bulldog. And it's a breed type, yes. So you're trying to ask, what can you use now to get rid of that Mastiff trait?
Yeah, because I thought they used the Johnson for some reason. I don't know why. But
let me bring it up, man. I'll tell you right now, so that we don't lead anybody the wrong way. Let me bring up American Bulldog Johnson versus Scott. Let's bring up the images. And this way, we're all on the same page, because I really don't want to lead anybody in the wrong direction. And I apologize, guys, but you got to understand, American Bulldog is, I understand they were used, but they're not my dog of choice, right?
Yeah.
So this is okay. So hold on. Here we go. Scott. Here you go. I'm trying to find the type. Okay, so you said it was the Johnson.
Yeah, I thought it was the Johnson.
Okay, so I'm not really getting. Let me see. What temperament? What's typical size of a Johnson? Okay, so that's a Johnson. I would probably say I was right when I said a Scott because this dog's barely's got any chest. Let me bring up Scott. Let me bring up Scott. I hope you guys are able to follow me on the screen. Are you able to follow me?
Yeah, I can see.
Okay. So look, Johnson versus Scott. Okay. Maybe that's the best way to do it. American Bulldog, Scott.
Hey, Raul.
Yeah.
Can I share my screen? I was gonna tell you put in Scott versus I put Scott versus Johnson American Bulldog and it gives you a description. It says the Johnson's the more bullier, muscular one.
Okay, so then the Johnson's the one. Thanks. We don't even need to bring it on screen. We'll just follow that. Okay, so maybe you're right. The Johnson. Okay, you got me there. I'm not an expert in the American Bulldog. As far as how to clean up Mastiff blood, no, bro. Like for me, that's the problem. That's what made me pivot as well. I had some of that Mastiff blood, and it's sticky. You can't get rid of it. It seems like once you fix the head and the front, all of a sudden the rear takes up high. You know what I'm saying? Because of the Mastiff. And then once you start working on the rear, then all of a sudden, boop, you know, the jowls start dropping or whatever. My recommendation is if you're in that predicament, if you could get rid of the dog as far as your breeding program, that's probably the best bet. That's probably the best bet. I just, you know, I'm telling you about what I did. For me to tell you, oh yeah, go to Johnson and then start cleaning it up. It's a real easy thing to say, but I'm not doing it. Yeah. So why would I tell you to do that?
I'll close out with this. I think that down the line, as we said last week and the week before, the American Pit Monster might be the way to fix it. Unfortunately, like as much solutions as I'll sit there all day and write it down, and it's like they got it already. What you gonna keep adding more stuff? You're gonna you might create more problems.
No, but here's the thing: you got to understand how they got it. They got it because they bred a pit to a bully, and they bred that to an American Bulldog. There's no Mastiff in the line.
Yeah.
But if your dog is looking like this and it's got a Mastiff rear, then to say go to the Pit Monster and it's going to fix it. How do you know? How do you know it's going to fix it? You're now reintroducing Mastiff to that mix.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I wouldn't recommend that. I would recommend, if you can, find a dog that you have that has no Mastiff, preferably a standard or an extreme. And then, if you want to breed bigger from there, then learn genetics, learn that the N and the IGF-1 is for big and the I is for small, and then start matching your dogs up, either two NIs together or an NI with a double N to get bigger, and work it that way. It's going to be way more effective than you breed a Mastiffy dog to that line and it doesn't clear, and that's your first generation. Wait 2 more years before you can hack at it again. And if you don't clear by a second generation, are you going to wait another 2 years and make it 6 to see if it clears? That's why I pivoted.
No, I definitely see. Well, with 2 people that I know actually going to use Sheik, they locked them in for sure. I'm going to be keeping track of their puppies. One of them kind of have a little more Mastiffy dog. The other one, she's real bull. She's really bully. I'm just going to be keeping track of it and just see, over the next year how the puppies turn out.
I'll be honest with you. The one that's got a Mastiffy bull is trying to shortcut into thinking that he's going to get a Brazilian bull.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, bro, if you're going to make a vanilla shake, you're going to add vanilla, you're going to add water, but the minute you add some chocolate, it's no longer a vanilla shake, bro. You see what I'm saying?
No, definitely. How many puppies would you say he has around on the floor?
Sheik?
Yeah.
I wouldn't dare to comment. I would say either quite a few, and he definitely has a lot more litters coming. That question is something I would recommend for Samba Kennels, Arian, the person that's currently handling him, to be able to answer. I couldn't answer that.
Okay. Well, that was my last question for the night.
Well, bro, it's been good, man. Appreciate you coming on, man, making it happen.
Yes, sir.
Kyle, get the music ready, man, because we're about to drop it. Here you go. Jafon's Journey came on here. Thanks for coming on, but now we're going to switch it up, and we're going to bring it up. Funny this eye. I like man. I like that. Kill it.
Yeah, man. I just to comment on that last thing, I agree with you so much that you can throw whatever you want in the gene pool. If it's got Mastiff in there, you're headed down the wrong way on a one-way road.
Yeah.
And so the best thing you can do is turn around and go the other way.
If you can, you know what I'm saying? If you can, absolutely.
Yep.
That's why, yeah.
Well, he had a good question, was one of my questions, but I got some others. So I got some tough ones tonight, man. Money Mike got them tough questions, bro.
Well, man, I really appreciate that because I like tough questions, man. Bring it on.
What is the LH hormone, and why don't more reproductive vets track it?
The LH hormone is the luteinizing hormone.
That's right.
And the reason that a lot of vets or a lot of reproductive vets, or better yet, reproductive people out here in this community not look at it directly is because when you compare the luteinizing hormone directly to progesterone is going to beat it out 7 out of 10 times. Okay. But in reality, rather than putting these two hormones to compete with each other, you should be putting them together so that you can synergistically predict or have a more accurate reading and breeding. But not everybody does that.
I like that. I like that answer. I couldn't agree more. And I think as I'm going down this road myself right now, I was very pleased that the reproductive specialist that we used actually tracks both, and to hear him break down what you just said and why he does it. I guess I didn't realize until I started researching and looking around to see what my options were, how few of them actually did that.
Yes.
So apparently it's not very common that vets do it. So
yeah, very few. I can tell you, I've never gone to a vet that has looked me in the eye and said, oh, we're going to have to look at the luteinizing hormone because of progesterone. And the reason for it, Mike, I think has more to do not only with what they're taught in school, but their business model. Again, I'm not trying to take a shot at vets, but vets follow a business model that makes sense for their business, not necessarily to make sure that your bitch gets pregnant. That's the bottom line. Right. You may be working with a vet for years, and then that vet, you'll start noticing they start telling you things that, you're like, oh, okay, well, I never knew that. You see what I'm saying? But most vets are like, why would I do a luteinizing hormone? I'm only going to get $15. I'm just giving an example. When I could do a progesterone test and charge them $45. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's what I think.
Yeah, that's what it seems to be for sure.
Yeah.
Well, here's a good one. So are AIs okay to do at home, or should they be done only by a vet? So what are the pros and cons to this?
I think that if you are a new breeder, and guys, let me tell you something. I'm actually thinking of making a raffle where the winner is going to get a paid stay here at the Q for an entire week to basically hang out with me up and down for an entire week as to how I run my program. The reason is important, man, whether it's me or, another breeder. to take you under their wing is to show you how to do an effective AI. You can do them at home, bro. AIs are not necessarily needed. You don't necessarily need to go to a vet to do a basic artificial insemination. Now, if you have a female that has something funky going on with the heat cycle, or they're shipping in frozen sperm or anything like that, then by all means, man, you got to go to the vet. But if you're just going to be doing a regular AI because you have an in-house dog here, dude, you should be able to do that on your own, bro. It's really not that difficult.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah,
I agree with that. I know that it's a process that can be handed down from teacher to student pretty easily.
Very easily.
Just to show hands-on, and if you need a co-pilot on this week at the Q, you just let me know. I'll make a trip down there.
Well, no, it's look, man, number love. I appreciate to have you here. I don't even need you to come down here to be a co-pilot. You can just show up, and this is your house. But my point is, the reason I want to do a raffle this way is because in reality, what I want to do is I want to put pressure on breeders out here that are real popular and really don't know crap about, don't even know how to do an AI themselves if they had to, in reality. And the way I do that is by leading by example. And that's what I do with my platform. And so I'll bring you here. I'll show you how to do an AI. It's the easiest freaking thing to do. It really is. And it's not necessarily, necessary for you to go running to a vet or anything like that and pay your hard-earned money for the vet to do an artificial insemination, right? Also, we got videos where I show artificial insemination, guys. Again, it's not the end of the world. All you got to do, here, let me go ahead and bring it up again, man.
Doing progesterones at the Q would be another cool thing to do during that time.
Yeah, I mean, again, you would have to come here more than likely when it's actually necessary and I'm doing it, right? I'm not going to just grab a female that's not in heat and be like, oh, I'm going to show you how to do an AI, and we're going to do an AI on her. That's not how it's going to work. But my whole point is more and more breeders should be taking other breeders under their wing and showing them how to do these things. These are basic things that breeders do. Let me see if I could bring up let me go ahead and bring up my homepage. I want to show you guys something. Now, I don't know if this video is set for members only. It very well may be. But if you go to my homepage, oh, sorry, didn't mean to take you guys there. Hold on, man. I'm in the wrong screen, bro. My bad. Jesus, just when I want to show you guys something, I end up going in the wrong place. So hold on. Just give me a second here. There we go. Okay. So we're at QBN Kennel, and let me go to my homepage here. And then, yeah, there we go. So, sorry, guys. Let me bring it up again. Here you go. That's my homepage right now. And if you're in my homepage, you click here. Now you're in my homepage, right? So, if you go here and you type in artificial insemination and hit enter, okay, you got a video here, American Bully Artificial Insemination, okay? You got a video here that you could click on, okay?
Has begun. It doesn't mean that our ovums are ready. Remember, it takes about 48 hours for them to be ready. So basically, once you get 5 nanograms or 5.
Now I'm going to skip around.
Right now, I see the level almost at the. Latessa is being very receptive to iron, even though she does sit here in a moment and doesn't let him penetrate her. This is mostly done so that we could then put it into a plastic vial. And eventually we're going to go ahead and put in the centrifuge. As you can see, iron's sperm was very concentrated. Next, we're just going to go ahead and put it on the centrifuge. We're going to run it for at least a good 10 minutes. and then we're going to come back to it, and you're going to be seeing what is called a sperm pellet. This sperm pellet makes everything for at least 3 to 5 minutes. Each one of you should know your females by now. All right, guys, I kind of just gave you a quick heads up as to how we do it. Make sure to watch the video so you can get all the information. It's all there for you.
That's why I bring it up so often on the lives, because I feel like people quickly forget what they have access to on the video, archives of QBN. There's just so much that.
Yeah, but you know what happens, Mike? Here's the thing. It's a popularity game right now. Everybody wants to make a YouTube channel, and everybody, or the great majority of people, want to follow what's shiny, right? If you go into a toy store, right, they're going to put things at eye level for kids like candy and that sort of thing. So the kid wants. And so what ends up happening is, and I appreciate it, believe it or not, this way, all them sheep and all those people that are following things that are shiny, I don't want them here. I want the people that really want to breed and really want to learn and really want to improve and really make a business model off of this, right? And make it a long-term success for them and their family, right? And so a lot of people don't know about this. I keep telling you, go to our homepage, go to search, type in whatever you want, and you're probably going to, it's going to blow your mind off. And not only that, you're going to see how easy and simple it is. Mambo Jenkins, by the way, is saying, hey, Mike, you know a brother done made it when they start offering a week with Raul weekend vacation. Hey, Raul, it's not necessarily the amount of work as it is the kind of work some of us are willing to pay others to perform. Okay, again, if that's what if that's your thing, then, by all means. But think about this, at least for me. I recommend you start doing regular AIs if you have a male on site, right? When your female is already hitting about 8.5, between 8.5 and 17.5, meaning we're going to do AIs for 4 days in a row. Are you going to tell me you're going to pay $400 for your vet to sling your dog around 4 days in a row? Like, that's got to be the stupidest thing in the world.
Well, how about this? How much is your average progesterone machine?
Well, nowadays,
yeah,
I actually got one for $600.
Okay, well, I paid for 4 progesterone and the LH hormone tests leading up to the insemination,
right,
which cost me a little over $100 a pop. So that's one breeding, and now it's not even over, because at the end of the pregnancy, I got to go back and test progesterone again to see where she's at. So you're looking at, in one breeding, the cost that it would take to buy the equipment and do it yourself for a lifetime. You're giving.
You're almost paying for it. You're almost paying for it on that
close,
first
man.
Yeah, and then on top of that, you're paying $100 for them to collect. Guys, I promise you, my boy Fireball, I collect them in less than a minute. My boy Congo, collect in less than a minute. My boy, any boy in this yard, in less than a minute, I have him collected. What do you need? You need me to spin it and mix it with, these are things you need to learn, especially if you're going to be studying a dog. You're going to mix it with extender. Yeah, absolutely. Put it under the microscope. Make sure you got motility. Make sure you got the right amounts. I mean, these are basic things that everybody should be learning. However, we get lazy and we want the vet to do everything. Well, don't get mad at old vet over there for charging $100 to sling your dog for 30 seconds. I mean, that's got to be one of the stupidest things I've ever seen in my life, man, to be honest with you. Listen, I don't know how we got on that subject. We should have been talking about barf diet. Honestly, guys, barf diet is no more complicated than 80% muscle meat, 10% bone. I substitute beef livers or chicken livers for Nuvet NuJoint DS. I do that. If you don't want to buy Nuvet NuJoint DS, then try a multivitamin. If you don't get good results, then come back around and get Nuvet NuJoint DS, period. And then you have 10% vegetables and fruits. Basically, start out at 3% body weight, work your way up to 5% if need be. If it's a pup, you're going to have to feed minimally 3 times a day. If they're 3 months or less, if they're over 3 months, you could probably get away with 2 times a day. You got to feed them enough calories. If it's an adult dog, you can get away with feeding once a day. But I do strongly suggest that you do add something like casein protein in cottage cheese so the dog never goes into the catabolic state, which is a breakdown of the muscle the dog has so that it can make sugar, which is the dog is not very efficient at doing that. What other questions you got, Mike?
I got a tough one, man. You know, I've been kind of holding out on this one. It's one that I think every program needs to discuss to know, you know, what to do and not to do. And it's one of those things nobody wants to talk about, but that's what we do on the Q, right? So when it comes to culling puppies, what is ethical and what isn't? Also, what are some of the difficult situations where culling applies?
Okay, excellent question. Before I answer that, Bombo Jenkins is asking, what's my opinion on dual sire? I don't think it's necessary. Listen, bro, females, and I've already updated my breeding practices on females. I don't breed them past 4.5. If that female didn't take a first time, I give them a second shot. I might give them a third shot, but by the time you didn't get bred by the third time, I'm shutting you down. There's something obviously wrong. I'm not wasting any more of my time with it as far as my breeding program. Okay. That's why I don't believe in dual sire, right? You may have a particular reason that dual sire fits in. If that's the case, go for it. But for me, you know, you're asking me the question. I really don't believe in it, man. It's not necessary. It's Mike, culling. Back in the days, culling, for those of you that don't know what culling means, culling, it's a substitute word for putting a puppy down, for, you know, basically killing them in a humane way. And so, and back in the days, as far as breeding was concerned, when a dog didn't meet standards, okay, this is what you would do in order to keep the bloodlines clean. Right nowadays, because we're so money driven, we want to say that every single pup in the litter is, you know, a show quality pup because we're just trying to make $1. And therefore, the practice of culling has kind of dwindled. Now, it has evolved, thank God, from actually putting a puppy down to sterilizing a puppy or selling it as pet quality, with the provisions that when that puppy, you know, male or female, is 18 months old or 2 years old, they must be spayed or neutered. Okay. Now, when are the tough decisions when you must spay or neuter a dog, in my opinion? Because that's all I could say is my opinion. I feel that
you have to cull one.
Yeah. I think that when you would have to cull one is if they're born with a very serious deformity. Like, for example, spina bifida. Baby pup is born with the insides of the spinal cord outside. Puppy's never going to have.
I've seen babies born with no buttholes or no privates.
Right,
also.
right. Or they're born, you know, sometimes they'll be born with a quarter of a size of one kidney, and that's it. Well, you know that puppy's not going to have quality of life. And sooner or later, it's not only not going to have quality of life, it's going to probably die in a very miserable way. I would probably pull the trigger then. I will do everything possible. Rather than putting the pup down, I will do my research and do whatever I can possibly to sell it as a pet and to make sure it's going to have the best chance of quality of life as possible as I can. That's what I would do. Right.
Right.
However, with that being said, also, this is where genetic testing comes in. You get a puppy that is born and it's not showing any signs of anything, but it has a pair, in other words, both pairs of ataxia, right? For those of you that don't know, that actually is something going on with the dog's brain, their nervous system, where it's only going to be progressively worse, and it's going to quite possibly lead to death as well. I would probably have to sit down on that one and really think it over and realize that even though the puppy's not showing it today at 6 weeks, in about a year to a year and a half, 2 years, it's probably going to be having a miserable life. And, you know, that's why I keep saying being a breeder is not an easy thing. These are decisions you got to make that nobody really wants to make.
That's right.
So it is what it is, bro. Real quick, Bombo Jenkins, appreciate it. Honestly, I don't know enough about it either way to make a proper judgment. It's rarely spoke on. Yeah, Bombo, the dual sire thing, I don't know, bro.
To me, it puts too many links in the polygenetic chain to where as a breeder, you know, you're putting your science coat on and you're trying to control variables and probabilities and things like that. You're adding a whole nother group of genetics into the equation. So now you have puppies, and let's say they all have similar phenotype. Well, what worked and what didn't? Did this come from this dog, from that dog?
Well, you're gonna have to run a genetic test on every single pup, regardless, because now you're not gonna know whose pup is whose. What if the puppy looks just like mom? Then what? Who was the dad?
Yeah,
you just don't know.
you just don't know, man.
So you're gonna have to do a genetic test.
And not to mention, if one works better than the other, then you're missing out on the percentages of that. So, like, if you bring in the right sire, and he's the perfect sauce for the mom, well, you're only going to get 2 or 3 maybe or of him out of it.
You're going to have a small sample size, regardless.
Right, instead of the whole litter looking like dad or mostly like dad or whatever, you're sharing that percentage with the other dad.
Yeah,
so,
I think it's overrated, unless you have a situation where you have a female that she couldn't get pregnant by the time she was 3.5 because you had her in the show ring, and now you're down to the last 6 months of your window of getting her pregnant, and then you wanted to do it that way. And even then, I'd probably shoot it down, man. To me, it just doesn't make sense. Bambo says, I understand it's a mixing pot, but that's kind of the point, right? No, not really, Bambo, because here's the thing, Bambo. Listen, breeding is about genetics. We know us as breeders have dumbed down the language and talk about tight blood and loose blood. We're really talking about genetic code. Is it genetic code that has real intense code in it, a lot of homozygotic pairs, or are they heterozygotic? But rather speaking in scientific terms, we talk about tight blood or loose blood. In reality, whether you like it or not, when you're talking genetics is all about probabilities. There's no such thing as 100% in genetics. Therefore, when you reduce sample size, you really, really are shooting yourself in the foot because you're really not seeing what's there. You're reducing the chances of knowing what's really there, bro. That's really what it is, man. So that's the reason for it. Samba Kennels, Aria, nothing but love. How you doing, my friend? Thank you for coming on. So, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, buddy. I was going to
ask. No, I was just saying, think about this. If you had a shot, let's use a hypothetical. You had a shot of a last 10 pup litter. Why would you want 5 puppies from one dog and 5 puppies from another when you could have 10 from one?
Exactly.
Me personally, if you were to ask me, Raul, if you were going to keep a female from a litter, would you prefer a 10 pup litter to have 7 males and 3 females, or 5 females and 5 males? Obviously, I'm going to want 5 females. In fact, if I could have 10 females and no males, that's the perfect situation if I'm going to a breeding, if I want to keep a female. I want as many numbers in there so I could pick the very, very best. You see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, then it also feels like it's not as calculated of a decision as it could be. I mean, if you're choosing a sire based on what he can bring as far as attributes to your program, then, you know, and then you need this, and then once you have this, then you need this. well, if you do all that at once,
Yeah.
to me, that's just not how I would go about it.
So Bambo's not convinced. He's saying it here. And Bambo, let me just tell you this, man. I love this. I love a challenge.
I do
so
too.
I'm gonna answer your question in such an effective way. I'm gonna leave you scratching your head tonight. So he's saying, I get the basic breakdown of breeding. I'm speaking on dual sire. It's used to mix the pot. Let me explain something to you. When a male, right? Look, when a male, here we go.
Let's go to school then.
Yeah, we're going to break this down real quick. So when a male is going to breed into a female, you get an X and a Y, right? That Y is almost, I don't want to say useless, but that Y is there to determine the puppy's sex, right? So if you really wanted to mix the pot, where you want to mix the pot is on the female, her two X's. A female is going to bring more assortment and more mixing of the pot with her two X's than this one X ever will. Bottom line. So that's where you bring assortment. If you have a female that's outcrossed, you're going to get more assortment than you really want. If you have a female that has been line bred, but within that line breeding, the second line that has been used has been consistent, that's where you're getting your assortment. And you're getting more of a predictive factor at the end. You see what I'm saying, my friend? But if you're looking to two males to give you assortment, that's just counterproductive because you're not getting the numbers you need in that litter. You may have, out of a 10 pup litter, 6 from one male and 4 from the other. The one you got 4 gave you 2 males and 2 females. That's really not a sample size. Let's look at the other one. He gave you 6. He gave you 3 males and 3 females. Well, he gave you a little bit better of a sample size, but still, it's not much of a sample size. If it was left up to me, if I had 10 puppies and it was 5 females and 5 males, that's a pretty good balance as far as sample size is concerned, if that makes any sense. Bambo says, I'm not arguing it's the best method, big dog. Listen, Bambo, at the end of the day, if you feel that's the best method, go for it, my friend. As far as I'm concerned,
something you want to try, we'd love to hear about how it turns out.
Exactly. Samba. Go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Read Samba. Let's hear from him.
Yeah, Samba says, I have a dual sire 2 times, once in dogos. Both my champion sires were leaving to other countries. Only one sire took. Once, yeah, there you go. Once in XLs, I was selling the females, 5 from one dog and 2 from the other. Okay, and then she says, parentage testing is mandatory. Yeah, absolutely. You're going to have to if you do dual siring. Yeah. I was very happy to see the production of both one female, but yes, the sampling is not good. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. And this is somebody that's been breeding dogos, Argentinos for just about 20 years or more.
Yeah.
Queen's New Blood says, I remember you talking about this in a video, Samba, to get both from all parents. The Life of Miklo, more and more I watch QBN Lives. I don't know why people are not DNA testing when you're breeding. Do you really want to better your program? The reason people are not DNA testing, this is my opinion. This is a finger wag. The reason they're not testing is because, first of all, a lot of these big breeders that are popular, again, popularity is one thing, and knowing what the hell you're doing is something totally different. A lot of them cover their handicap or their lack of knowledge or they now have found out their dog has a particular disease. They don't want the world to know because their market value is about to shrink. And so they sell this vision that, oh, we are phenotypical breeders. How convenient. We're in an age where genetic tests only cost you about $100. How convenient is it for you to stud your dogs at $6,000 to $10,000 and not believe in genetic testing? That's straight bullshit. Okay. If you go to the premium pedigree that the ABKC now is coming out with, they're forcing you. You're not hearing me? Okay. They're forcing you to have parentage testing at minimum. And this is so that we can at least tell if the dog that is being studied is actually the one that's being used, right? But there are other things out there, other diseases that you're not going to know that they're being matched up with unless you're actually doing genetic testing. It's really that simple. Mike, can you hear me?
I can't hear anything you're saying.
Okay, can you go out and come back in?
I still can't hear anything.
Okay. Kyle, can you hear me? Okay. So, yeah, Mike, you're going to have to go out and come back in, bro. Yeah, he can't hear me. He's going to have to do that. Let's see. Queen's New Blood, don't plan to ever dual sire since I can move forward with a better female to the next male from the dam since I'm breeding to better my program and breed. There you go. Again, guys, listen. Life of Miklo, none below. Listen, there's more than one way to skin the cat. Breeding is not a perfect science. It is subjective. If you feel that going through a dual sire is going to be your best bet or is going to make it most effective for you, listen, bro, more power to you. But if you're asking me the question, I'm giving you my opinion, right? Based on the experience I've acquired, for breeding for about 10 years. It's really that simple.
Okay. So should every bitch have an ultrasound done? If so, why is it so important?
Listen, the ultrasound really is to confirm pregnancy. I believe that you must have or do an exam, and there's 2 exams, by the way, that I'm aware of. Actually 3 that I'm aware of to know if the bitch is pregnant at around the 30-day mark. Okay. The ultrasound is one of them. The other one is actually progesterone based on the progesterone levels. The other one is actually through another hormone that they're now selling these tests you could buy on Amazon to see if your bitch is pregnant. The reason that you want to make sure you know if your bitch is pregnant or not at day 30 is because female dogs have the ability to consume the puppies in vitro. If they have an infection in the uterus, like pyometria, for example, they may abort the pups or they may consume what's there. You will never know if you never did a test to know if the bitch did take or didn't take whatsoever. You will never know. She'll look like she took, everything will look fine and proper, and then by the time the 2-month mark rolls around, there's nothing there. And you're like, oh, okay, it was a phantom pregnancy. And then you try it all over again. Yeah.
Would you agree that also they do it because sometimes you can have a bunch of puppies that have really big heads and mama's kind of small, or maybe that there's 14 or 16 puppies in there and labor is going to be too much for her?
I'm going to tell you this, Mike. That's not what the ultrasound is used for or a pregnancy test. That's what x-rays are done for.
Okay.
And the x-ray is going to be done on day 57. And that's when the puppies are calcified enough to where you can run an x-ray without hurting them. And then you're able to measure the head size going through the hips. The ultrasound is there for them to be able to go in, see a sac, and see a heartbeat inside of the sac.
And make sure you have puppies.
Make sure you got puppies. And the other tests through the hormones are able to know if the female took or didn't take.
So right? the X-ray will tell you if you need a C-section or not in the ultrasound.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. The X-ray and that's the other test I strongly recommend before your bitch goes into labor is make sure you take her in at day 57 to make sure that she's able to pass the puppies naturally if you're not looking to do a C-section. Okay. It is at that point where you're going to find out if she could actually birth naturally or not. Because a lot of people out here are looking for dogs with big heads. And then, if you never did that x-ray and she can't pass it, now you haven't only endangered the lives of the pups, you've endangered the life of that bitch.
So my vet actually gave me what he calls a game plan spreadsheet. Mm-hmm. And so whenever we did the AI and I went to pick up my dog, I got a piece of paper with dates and highlighted, you know,
Yes.
10 days, we can do this if you want to. If you want to wait for the ultrasound in 30 days, and then, you know, so on and so forth, all the way through the game plan to the through the x-rays and the and birth and everything. So
Yeah.
I don't know if they all do that or not, but I thought that was pretty cool.
I think it is. And again, I'm going to tell you this. If you get into breeding, guys, I strongly suggest, for the health of your bitch and for your knowledge, to do an ultrasound or something that lets you, another test that lets you know that your bitch is pregnant or not by day 30. Why? Because if they're able to see a pup in the sack and they're able to see a heartbeat at day 30, and all of a sudden by day 45, her belly's gone and you take her in and they look in there and they can't find the sack and the puppy, now at least you have an answer that she consumed the pups. Now you got to do other tests. Does she have a blood infection?
Because there's a reason if she consumed, right?
And right. What is the reason why she consumed?
Right.
But too many breeders are out here that will never do that, only to save a nickel, and it ends up costing you $1. You now try a second time to get her pregnant, a third, a fourth time. And now you go in and you find out she's had pyometra for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
You've been just pissing the money out the window for nothing.
Well, here's my last question, Raul. What is the starting price for a new breeder to sell puppies at, and what makes it go up and down and when?
Look, man, again, that's a subjective thing.
I know it's a question I hear a lot of people ask. Nobody, you know, a lot of people don't know where to start and what determines it.
I'm gonna tell you right now, bro. The demand for your pup or dog is gonna. I'm sorry. The demand for the parents of those pups is gonna determine your price. Okay. So here's the deal. Let me give you an example. So you got a dude that's got a female that looks like this, but he goes to the best looking dog out there, the priciest stud, right? People are not stupid. That stud is going into this. So what they're going to do is they're going to compare a female, the price of somebody that has a female, say like this, right? Right? That's more bully type and cleaner. Okay, so this dude is asking $5,000 for these pups. Okay, so then at least for me in my mind, this dude right here can't ask for more than $2,500, in my opinion, right? But that's completely subjective. How many people are following one and the other online? Popularity, whether I like it or not, plays a part of it. I've always said for every 2,000 followers, you have one buyer. That's what it is. In fact, I've called it the 1% rule. So for 2,000 buyers, you may have 2 buyers. In reality, you got a 0.5 here and a 0.5 here. And if you add them together, that's only going to equal 1.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I think people knowing who the mom and dad are matters. I can say for myself, you know, I'm looking at coming up on my first breeding within my program. I'm really proud of the mother. She's a great looking dog. I think that what she is missing, as far as just being completely objective about my dog, what she is lacking, the dad brings all the way. And so I think the puppies are going to be a great balance of what I'm trying to do. And so
let me counter. Let me jump in there and counter this. Say you have a dog and you brought a stud that has what she doesn't have, and she compliments him as well. What's going to happen is you're going to have some puppies that are well complemented. Those are the ones that you're going to be able to sell for more, obviously. And then the ones that are less complimented and the attributes that they're showing are the ones that are least attractive, then obviously you're going to lose price on those pups.
Yeah, this is where pick of the litter comes in and all that.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, real quick, let me jump on this statement by Insaratha. She says, I was told by a breeder in another breed, if your female doesn't take before the next heat, put her on Clavamox for 2 weeks prior to the next heat cycle, like in between. Now, listen, Echo Bullies is seconding that notion. He says correct, Inserata. Okay, so here's just my thought, Inserata. I'm not saying putting her on Clavamox or not is right or wrong. What I'm saying is, what if, I don't know, what if she has an ovarian cyst? What is Clavamox going to do for that? You're not going to know. You're just not going to know. What if you did an ultrasound when she's 30 days in, or you did an ultrasound when she's 2 years old before you breed her, so they could take a look at her ovaries, and now you realize either the ovaries are atrophied or there's a cyst on the ovary, and then you see what I'm saying? Clavamox is just not going to fix that problem. Now, don't get me wrong. This may be good general advice.
It can work, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you have a female that had a UTI or had some sort of reproductive tract infection. Look, I'm not gonna go against this, but all I'm saying is it doesn't stop here. Make sure to do that ultrasound. Make sure to do an ultrasound while you're at it. Let's take a look at her ovaries, right? And make sure you don't have a cyst on there. But either way, I appreciate you sharing that, Esmeralda. Is a good point. She said, good point, Raul. I did understand at 35 days. I did ultrasound at 35 days, no pups. Okay, so you see, this is where you start connecting dots. You did ultrasound at 35 days. She wasn't pregnant. If you were doing the ultrasound, and obviously you didn't ask me this before, so I'm bringing it up now. If they do the ultrasound and there's no pups while you're there, so you don't get an extra charge, just ask the person doing the ultrasound, hey, can you check out her ovaries? Just check them out. Oh, I see an ovarian cyst on there. Ah, now you know. And no matter what the heck you do, you ain't going to get her pregnant.
Healthy dogs that get healthy sperm put into them when they're fertile get pregnant. If there's something that's keeping their, if it's not working, I mean, it can happen, but anything can happen. But odds are there's something going on.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. This is why I tell people that 2D echo at 30 to 35 days is crucial. It's going to let you know if something is going on with your bitch, especially that first time. If she took and then she consumed, now you need to go down that rabbit hole and figure it out. If she didn't take an opportunity to look at her ovaries while you're there, right? And then if you see an ovarian cyst, I'm going to tell you right now, that vet is going to tell you we can make this happen, because his job is to sell you that hope so you can fork over $6,000, $8,000, $10,000, right? My suggestion is, if you're seeing an ovarian cyst, sorry, sweetheart, we're going to love you. You're either going to be here the remainder of your life, or I'm going to pet home you, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to spend all that money. It ain't going to fly.
That's just it, man. And I think, especially for people, and I've been there myself, where, you're putting what you can into this, that don't have just any amount of money to throw. Like, yeah, do whatever you want. Well, yeah, get another one. Get
right.
Get this, get that. It's hard to swallow that pill when you put 5-10 grand in a dog and
wait 2 years to notice that. Yeah,
and
I agree.
And then realize that 2 years in, 6 grand in, and you're like, I got to do something different. So it's tough, man. But you have to take. It's like playing poker at the casino.
Mm-hmm.
If you got your mind wrapped around how hard earned this money is,
you're not going to
bet. You're not going to bet properly.
You're going to lose.
Like, this is 2 weeks' pay right here, and I'm putting it on the line. If you're thinking like that, you're not going to make it. And as a breeder, the money's real, and what it costs is real. But you have to look at the situation objectively.
Yeah.
Period. No matter what it costs you, no matter, like, hey, all these puppies have health issues. Even if I got 15 grand in this situation, I got a situation on my hands. I can't just sell them and act like nothing's wrong. I have to take a look at it, and that's the hard, the hard pill to swallow, as they say.
Niles C says you got to know when to fold. One of a kind says, what can help prevent that? Healthy diet. He's talking about ovarian cyst. Unfortunately, bro, a lot of times it's genetic.
Yeah.
And when it's genetic, bro, I'm telling you right now, this is why you do genetic testing. Now, mind you, ovarian cyst may not be something that's going to come up on an embark test. I'm just going to be upfront with you. Okay. But if I see a female that's got an ovarian cyst, it's game over. Close it down. Don't sit there. Oh, we're going to go when you're not ever going to hear me say Nuvet NuJoint DS. No, that ain't going to fix that, bro. That's strictly genetic, bro.
I say one of the things that if there is something controllable to try to, something we're real conscious of with our females in heat, they can easily get infected, easily get germs, so even if you have a clean kennel and you're using diapers or whatever you're doing, you need to make sure you're really controlling that area of the dog and make sure that, that you're keeping things clean and sterilized and things like that, because a little bit of bacteria, it could really hurt things. So that would be my advice. There's some things you can't control, but that is something you can.
So I'm going to say something here that is probably going to take a lot of people by surprise. But let me just throw this out there. So you guys are well aware that I had pea gravel in my kennels, okay? Unfortunately for me, I lost 2 pregnancies the same way, which had I not ever done an ultrasound, I would have never known. So that's what opened my eyes and said, hey, Raul, maybe I need to go over there and cover these things with pure cement and figure out another way to keep the toes the way I want them, right? So now I have a cleaner kennel because we have cement, and it's more hygienic than just having pea gravel. In addition to that, a raw diet is going to make the dog poop. If I had to guess, compared to kibble, I would say less than a quarter of what they normally poop on kibble.
3 to 4 times less for sure.
Yeah, 3 to 4 times less than what they normally poop. So just in that change alone, everything is becoming that much more hygienic, meaning the odds of my females getting a UTI or getting reproductive tract infection or even pyometria goes down. You see how that works? That's why it's important. Echo Bully says 3,600 Canadian C-section, 300 X-rays and progesterone tests, singleton male, female, pup didn't make it out the vet. So, he paid 3,600 Canadian and $300 in X-rays. Yeah.
It's tough, man. That's just it.
I'm sorry to hear that, Echo, man.
And C-sections, and sometimes it goes our way and sometimes it doesn't. But, that's the thing about breeding, that makes it difficult, man. Sometimes you have to make expensive, difficult decisions. Sometimes you're throwing things at the wall to see what sticks. Yeah. And it costs money every time. So
he said the bitch passed away and lost her litter, man. I am so sorry to hear that, bro. Listen, we've come up on the 2-hour mark, bro. We're going to have to shut this down, Mike. Yeah. Let me bring Jafon over here. I know Hollywood is about to get put in a chokehold. I get it, man. Number love, bro. Hollywood, start it up for us, man.
It's your boy Hollywood Holland, your boy at the back of the queue. We're catching you on the next one.
There you go. Michael Holland.
Michael Higginson, man. Creekbank Kennel, Arkansas. Your co-host with the most. We'll be catching you on the next one.
There you go, Jafon.
Brooklyn, XLs. We're not switching up.
There you go. Hey, guys, we do this every Monday, every Friday, 8 p.m. CST. We're going to be dropping some videos. We're going to be talking about things nobody else really wants to talk about because they don't want to be exposed. Either way, it's been Raul from the Q, catching you on the next one.
American Bully, that's a dream. From XL booties to extreme.